Have you ever left a conversation feeling like something inside you was missing? Not your money, not your belongings, but something deeper, your clarity, your calm, your sense of who you are? You didn't imagine that. Some people don't steal from your wallet. They steal from your spirit. And the most dangerous part? They don't take much, just a little of your attention. Your silence, maybe your approval, but the cost? It's everything. Life's greatest battles don't always happen in moments of crisis. Often, they take place in silence, in who we let into our space, in whose needs we prioritize above our own, in the voices we allow to shape our thoughts. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca warned us about those who steal our most precious resource, our time. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that our mind is our own. It's not something to be surrendered, especially not to people who twisted to serve their own agenda. Yet, many of us give these things away without even realizing it. Not because we're weak, but because we want to be kind, supportive, compassionate, and those intentions are noble. But kindness without boundaries is not kindness, it's self-betrayal. There are people, often subtle, sometimes even well-meaning, who drain us. They don't shout, they don't ask for much. They simply nudge your boundaries, over and over. And before you know it, you're exhausted. You've been giving pieces of yourself away in silence. This video is a wake-up call. Not out of fear, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. Because protecting your peace, your time, and your inner clarity is not selfish, it's essential. It's not about building walls. It's about learning to recognize the 6 small but dangerous requests that slowly erode your sense of self. And it starts here, with awareness. The truth is, not everyone deserves access to your mind, your heart, or your energy. You don't have to offer your silence in the name of keeping the peace. You don't have to say yes when your soul is screaming no. So stay with me. By the end of this, you won't just understand what these 6 hidden requests are. You'll know how to draw the line with strength, with calm, and with purpose. Because your energy is sacred, your mind is sovereign, and your life is far too valuable to spend it being slowly drained by people who don't even notice what they're taking. Let's begin. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever found yourself exhausted after being there for someone, emotionally, mentally, completely, only to realize they never once paused to ask, "How are you doing?" That exhaustion, that invisible drain, it wasn't just your time they took. It was your energy, your life force. Your energy is sacred. It fuels your dreams. It sustains your purpose. It's what you draw from to love, to create, to endure, and to grow. But not everyone sees it that way. Some people treat your energy like an open buffet, taking what they need, whenever they need it, without ever asking if there's anything left for you. They call you when it's convenient for them. They unload their burdens, their stress, their chaos, without once considering if you're already drowning in your own. And the hardest part? They often do this in the name of friendship, of love, of loyalty. They say, "That's what friends do," or, "You're the only one I can talk to." But what they really mean is, "I expect you to carry me, even when you're barely standing yourself." The Stoics had a word for this: unwise generosity. Seneca reminded us that being kind doesn't mean being self-sacrificing. True generosity is intentional. It's the act of giving from a place of strength, not depletion. Because here's the truth. When you constantly give your energy to people who don't appreciate it, you eventually lose the ability to give it to the people and dreams that actually matter. You start saying yes when your heart is screaming no. You push your priorities aside for the sake of someone else's drama. And little by little, you become a stranger to your own life. That's not kindness. That's erosion. People who truly care about you will respect your limits. They'll understand that boundaries are not rejection, they're protection. They'll show up when you need them, not just when it's convenient. They'll give, not just take. So I say this with love. It is not selfish to say no. It is not cruel to protect your peace. It is wisdom. It is self-respect. And it is one of the most powerful things you can do for your future. Because when you guard your energy like the sacred flame it is, something incredible happens. You stop running on fumes. You stop giving to people who only leave you empty. And you begin to shine again, with purpose, with passion, with power. So look around you. Notice who leaves you uplifted, and who leaves you drained. And ask yourself, is this relationship lighting my fire, or slowly putting it out? The answer will guide you, and your energy will thank you. What would you be without your principles? Strip away the titles, the roles, the achievements, and what's left is your character, your moral compass, the quiet voice inside that tells you what's right and what's not. But here's the thing. The world doesn't always try to destroy that voice with a shout. Sometimes, it does it with a whisper. Just this once. It's not a big deal. Don't make it awkward. Sound familiar? People who push you to bend your values rarely come at you with demands. They're subtle. They present their requests as favors, as harmless exceptions, as little sacrifices in the name of peace or friendship. But every time you give in, even just a little, you hand over a piece of yourself. And while it might feel small in the moment, over time, those small cracks turn into deep fractures. You start saying things you don't believe, doing things you don't respect, and one day, you look in the mirror and no longer recognize the person looking back. That's the real danger, not in the one big compromise, but in the slow erosion of your integrity. Marcus Aurelius said it best. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Your principles aren't negotiable. They're not up for debate. They are the anchors that keep you grounded in a world that constantly tries to sway you. Because here's the truth. People who truly respect you will never ask you to betray your values. They won't want you to sacrifice who you are just to keep them comfortable. They won't see your integrity as an obstacle, they'll see it as strength. But the ones who do push you to bend, they're not seeing you. They're seeing what they can get from you. And that is a red flag you can't ignore. I get it. It's hard to say no. It's uncomfortable to draw a line. But every time you stand firm, you remind yourself of who you are. You build self-respect. And more importantly, you protect your future from becoming a life built on quiet regret. So here's a question worth asking. What's the real cost of just this once? Because when the moment passes, and the pressure fades, you'll still be left with the consequences. And if the answer doesn't align with your truth, walk away. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. And in a world that constantly tells you to blend in, choosing to stay true to yourself is one of the most powerful acts of courage you can make. Not everyone who smiles at you has good intentions. Some people don't come to take your money or your time. They come to quietly reshape your mind. Manipulators rarely announce themselves. They don't arrive with drama or demands. They come gently, wrapped in kindness. Often, they look like friends, mentors, or even lovers. At first, they seem harmless. They listen well. They remember the details. They show up when others don't. But over time, you start to realize something deeper is happening, something unsettling. They're not listening to connect. They're listening to learn about your fears, your insecurities, your deepest doubts. And once they know where your armor cracks, they slip through it. Suddenly, you find yourself saying, yes, when you meant, no. You feel guilty for setting boundaries. You feel responsible for their emotions, their problems, even their failures. Why? Because they've made you believe that without you, they'll fall apart. That's not love. That's control dressed as closeness. I want you to pause here and ask yourself, who in your life makes you feel emotionally exhausted, but also strangely obligated to stay? That's the trick of the manipulator. They create a silent contract where they take, and you give, and the moment you stop, they make you feel like the bad person. They'll say things like, "You're all I have. I just thought you cared. I guess I was wrong about you." And those words? They're not about you. They're about control. Because real love doesn't guilt you into staying. Real connection doesn't leave you drained. Here's the reality. Manipulation is a slow poison. You don't feel it right away. But over time, your energy fades, your confidence weakens, your sense of self starts to blur. Until one day, you wake up and realize you've been living someone else's life, carrying someone else's weight. The Stoics would tell us this: you cannot live in peace if someone else is pulling your strings. True strength is not found in constant sacrifice. It's found in clear boundaries, in the courage to say, "This isn't healthy for me," and walk away without guilt. Your kindness is not a weakness. Your compassion is not a contract. And you do not owe your peace to someone who treats your soul like an emotional dumping ground. So listen to that quiet voice inside, the one that says, "Something's not right here." That voice is your intuition, and it's trying to save you. Let's be honest. If you've ever carried a dream that felt bigger than the room you were in, you've probably heard this before. Be realistic. Don't aim so high. Try something more practical. But here's the truth. Most people aren't trying to protect you from failure. They're projecting their own fear of it. See, dreamers threaten the comfort of those who have settled. When you dare to dream big, it shines a light on the places they gave up on themselves. And that light? It's uncomfortable. So they tell you to shrink your vision, to tone it down, to stay inside the lines they drew for themselves. But dreams were never meant to live inside the lines. Dreams aren't logical. They aren't safe. They don't come with guarantees. And that's exactly what makes them beautiful. You weren't born to just survive. You were born to create, to imagine, to stretch beyond what you or anyone else thought was possible. But too often, we trade that fire for other people's comfort. We start to believe the voices that tell us we're too ambitious, too idealistic, too bold. And little by little, we start playing small. Not because we lack ability, but because we let someone else's limits become our own. Let me ask you something. Whose voice is standing between you and your dream? Is it a parent who meant well but never dared to leap themselves? A friend who gave up too early? A colleague who envies your courage? Here's what I've learned. The people who truly care about you won't ask you to shrink. They'll cheer when you speak your dream aloud. They'll remind you of who you are when you start to doubt it. They'll fan the flames of your vision, not smother it with fear. And if someone tells you that dreaming big is reckless, ask them this: what's the alternative? To play it safe and wonder, what if? To settle for comfort and live with quiet regret? You don't owe anyone your smallness. You owe yourself the chance to try, to leap, to believe. Because dreams aren't just about success. They're about becoming the person you were meant to be. So don't apologize for dreaming big. Don't shrink to fit into someone else's fears. And don't let the world convince you that fire inside you is foolish. It's not. It's your guide. It's your power. And it's yours to protect. Have you ever felt like you had to edit yourself just to be accepted? You laugh a little softer. You speak a little less. You hold back a part of who you really are, just to fit in. At first, it seems harmless, adjusting a word here, hiding a truth there, all in the name of peace, harmony, or being easier to love. But slowly, silently, something deeper starts to shift. You begin to disappear, because every time you dim your light for someone else's comfort, you chip away at who you really are. And eventually, you wake up in a life that doesn't feel like yours, a version of you that was designed by other people's expectations. This isn't dramatic, it's real. It happens in boardrooms, relationships, families, even friendships. And the saddest part? Most of us don't even notice it's happening until we no longer recognize ourselves. The Stoics warned us about this. Epictetus taught that we must not concern ourselves with what others think. It's beyond our control. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that our value is not dictated by external opinions, but by how closely we live in alignment with our truth. Your worth isn't based on who accepts you. It's based on who you are when no one's watching, and how boldly you stand in that truth. I want you to think about this. How many times have you stayed silent just to avoid judgment? How often have you said, yes, when your soul was screaming, no? You weren't born to blend in. You weren't meant to become a mirror of someone else's desires. You are unrepeatable, and the world doesn't need another copy. It needs your truth. Your voice. Your fire. Yes, it might make some people uncomfortable. Yes, some may walk away. But the ones who stay, the ones who see you and still choose you, those are your people. They won't try to change you. They'll celebrate the parts of you others didn't understand. So stop trying to be palatable. Stop trying to be agreeable to everyone. Because the more you shrink to fit the mold, the more you lose the masterpiece you were meant to be. There is power in being unapologetically yourself. And that power isn't just for you. It gives others permission to do the same. So take up space. Speak your truth. And remember this. You don't have to change who you are to be loved. The right people will love you because of who you are, not in spite of it. At the end of the day, life really comes down to this. Who are you giving your time, your energy, your heart to? Because whether we realize it or not, the people we allow into our lives don't just influence us, they shape us. They shape our peace or our chaos, our clarity or our confusion, our growth or our stagnation. It's not dramatic to say that your future depends on the people you surround yourself with. Every conversation, every relationship, every connection is either feeding your soul or slowly draining it. And life, this one, wild, fleeting life, is simply too short to be drained by those who don't deserve you. So here's a hard truth worth remembering. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Some will only show up when they're hungry, never to bring, always to take. Some will dim your light because they're afraid of their own shadows. And some will ask you to shrink, just so they can feel taller standing next to you. But here's what happens when you finally walk away from those people. You create space for peace. You create room for real connection. You open yourself up to a life that actually reflects who you are, not just who you've been trying to please. You begin to reclaim your energy, your purpose, and your identity. And in that space, something powerful happens. You find your people, the ones who challenge you to grow, not control you, who pour into you, not just pull from you, who celebrate your fire instead of fearing its heat. That's where the magic of life begins, not in isolation, but in alignment, not in staying busy with everyone, but in being deeply known by a few. So, if you've been living small to make others comfortable, if you've been carrying dead weight out of guilt or habit, if you've been sacrificing your peace in the name of politeness, let this be your permission to stop. Walk away from the noise. Let go of what no longer serves you. And run. Run toward the version of your life where your soul is safe, seen, and free. Because you don't just deserve love. You deserve love that respects your boundaries. You don't just deserve connection. You deserve connection that strengthens your spirit. And you don't just deserve a life. You deserve a life that's fully, unapologetically yours. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, if you've ever felt the weight of carrying relationships that dim your light or dreams you were told to silence, know this: you are not alone. This channel was created for people like you. People who are choosing self-mastery over self-sacrifice, purpose over pressure, clarity over noise. So if you're ready to build a life rooted in wisdom, strength, and authenticity, I invite you to stay. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because this isn't just another channel. It's a community. A space where your growth matters, your boundaries are respected, and your voice is always welcome. And if today's message resonated with you, leave a comment, share your story. What part hit home? What are you walking away from, or walking toward? Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. We're in this together, and this journey of living with purpose, peace, and power is just getting started. So stay with us. Your best self is not behind you. It's waiting, just ahead.